guys, and welcome back to Call of the Wild, a show dedicated to teaching you about amazing animals we share this earth with. In today's video you're going to be meeting my leopard Gecko Blossom. So if you're interested in learning more about the leopard gecko, then please feel free to keep watching. If not, check out another one of my videos, and without further ado, here's my disclaimer. Leopard geckos were only domesticated in the 1980s, which was only 40 years ago. So if you think about in the long term of things, how long we've been keeping cats and dogs in our homes, that's a really short amount of time, and that's because we didn't understand how to properly care for them or keep them alive. Leopard geckos are what we like to call ectotherms, which means they get their heat that we create as mammals. We create our own heat through homeostasis. They can't do that, so they need heat from an outside source in order to get energy, move around and digest their food. So we didn't understand that before, which is why they are so new in the hobby. But leopard geckos have quickly become a favourite because of their unique characteristics and how placid they are. Leopard geckos really are one of my favourite types of geckos to own. In the wild, on average, leopard geckos live for 15 years. In captivity, we can expect that to be slightly higher as they have proper care, regular food. In the wild, there's predators who will predate on them, so in captivity we're looking at a 10 to 20 year lifespan, which isn't massively improved, but it's much better than in the wild, as they have other predators to compete with, other geckos to fight with, and that kind of stuff. Wild leopard geckos can be found in Iran, Afghanistan and North India. Interesting fact about leopard geckos, in comparison to their cousins, the crested geckos, they're not cousins, they're just both geckos, and I thought it was cute. They are insectivorous, which means they don't eat anything but insects. So if you gave them, for example, a fruit, it will not have any nutritional benefits for them at all. If you remember back to my ferrets video, they are obligate carnivores, which means they can only eat protein. Well, these guys are insectivorous, which means they can only eat insects. So do you see her tail here, her big fat tail? It has an incredible ability to store fat for her body. So any excess fat, as in the wild, they wouldn't always have food around to eat all the time. This means that she doesn't run out of energy, that she can keep going for as long as possible. When she can eat a lot of food, she will store the excess energy, converting it into fat in her tail, which is why she's got such a big fat tail. Do you also see how it's quite similar to her head? Now, it's quite similar to her head because it has this amazing ability she shares with a lot of geckos, and that is the ability to drop their tail. So what that means is if, for example, a predator swooped down and it grabbed her tail, that she would be able to drop her tail, it would ping off, it would rip away from her body, which is kind of gross but really cool in adaptation. And she could scamper off and live another day. Now what sets her apart from other geckos like a crested gecko, a gargoyle gecko or a takua is the fact that she can regrow this tail. Now, it's not recommended in captivity to do that to your gecko, as that is cruel and inhumane. As you should be aware, we are very much on this channel about welfare of animals, and that's something you should always make sure you are being careful of. When you're picking up your gecko, you want to support their bellies and pick them up like that, not by their tail. But in the wild, that is key to her survival, and that is what makes them so interesting. Geckos, unlike snakes, they shed their skin in a very interesting way. So she will pull her skin off her toes and her back and her head, and she'll actually consume her skin, which is pretty sick. It's pretty cool. If you're finding stuck shed in your enclosure, well, not stuck shed in your enclosure, you may have to worry about humidity if your gecko is okay, as this is a natural behaviour for them and they should be eating all their skin. Geckos have kind of got a bad rep over the past maybe 20 years of people assuming that they are bitey, they bite a lot. I have never ever had that issue with my sweet little Blossom. She's a really sweet girl, she's never shown any aggression. A sign of aggression or being territorial or being scared in leopard geckos is slowly shaking their tail. Just imagine shaking the tail but in slow motion, so it's really slow. And that is her telling me to back off or she will bite me. So if that is shown, you should really step away from your leopard gecko, give her some space to calm down, think about if you did anything to make her or him nervous, and yeah. Geckos should be kept solitary as they do fight for territory. They're not the same as most mammals or common species that enjoy the company of their own. and it's best to keep them separate to prevent fighting. So much for watching this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. There will be more videos coming soon. If you could like, comment and subscribe, that would really help me out. Thank you, Blossom, for being on the show. And without further ado, I love you guys. See you later.